when we spend more and more time in the industry, we figured if there's a way for people to get a stable coin, we can actually become something similar to Visa or MasterCard.
Looking for a faster, cheaper way to move money worldwide? OwlTing, now listed on Nasdaq under the ticker symbol OWLS, is building the rails for stablecoin payments. Convert fiat to stablecoins and send money as easily as a text message. Learn more at OwlTing.com. All right, I am Sam Ewan. This is CoinDesk. I'm very excited to be talking to Darren Wang, the CEO of OwlTing. They just had a NASDAQ release, which we're going to talk all about. Really interesting company focusing on finance and sort of the rails behind how money works, especially in the stablecoin business. Darren, welcome to the show. Really excited to talk to you.
Hi, Sam. Pleasure.
I just want to jump into it, Darren. Tell us what OwlTing does, and also tell us about the recent NASDAQ listing.
It's actually a very long journey. I think 12, 13 years ago, this is the first time I understand Bitcoin and started to invest in one of the earliest crypto exchange in Asia. It's called MyCoin. And then starting then, I also getting very interested in Ethereum and then everything about blockchain technology. Yeah. So fast forward, we got an investment from SBA Holdings back to 2018. And then I had a vision to create a global money flow using stablecoin. So during the time, I also met the founder for Tether. It was back to 2014, 2015 as well. So I think the most powerful advantage for blockchain technology is using token in the global finance and the particular money movement. But it was actually particularly difficult because everything is about regulation. If you want to move money, globally, you need to have the regulation behind. So I think started about 4 years ago, U.S. government OCC announced stablecoin can be used as banking transfer. So that was the moment that I realized, hey, this is the perfect timing for us to apply for the U.S. license. So we had actually spent almost 4 years to apply for the U.S. license, particularly can using stablecoin as money movement. And then later on, we started to invest in the regulations in Europe, Japan, other regions. So I think this is actually the long journey that I've experienced and start to visualize the future of the financial world.
And Darren, it sounds like it's culminated in your listing on NASDAQ exchange. So just tell us about that feeling and what it means to get to this moment.
Yeah, it's actually a very difficult journey because in the history of Asia company, there's very few companies that's going direct listing, particularly in NASDAQ. I think we should be the first company from Asia to do direct listing in NASDAQ. So in order to achieve the mission, we need to have good funding in the private placement. And so we did that. And then we also want to educate the market as early as possible because we have been in the industry for, over 10 years. And I see a lot of people, they don't really apply for the regulation. They just want to using the cheapest way to move money. But if you want to do business like Fortune 100, and it's impossible for them to use the service not regulated without license. In particular for companies like, for example, Booking.com, Airbnb, they are moving billions of dollars globally. So I think having the license and being regulated and getting public as a company will also help the growth and educate the market, the powerful of stablecoin.
So I don't think people really understand how hard it is to move that much money around the world. I think you mentioned just Airbnb is such a wonderful example. They have locations all around the planet, every different currency you can imagine, and they have to sort of figure out and facilitate payments. What do you think is sort of the hardest part of moving money around the world, and or what's the most broken part that you're trying to solve for?
When we started the business, we didn't start directly from the payment. We actually started from hospitality. So we built an inventory system for the global B&B and hotels. And then by building the B&B and hotel inventory system, we understand how, online travel agencies sending the money globally to their suppliers. For example, if you want to send the money, let's say 100K US dollars to Latin American or Indonesia, how do you send the money without going to the bank, right? It almost sounds impossible. So we started to research how the regulation has been formed from the traditional finance to the latest stable coin. So basically, it's under the same framework and policy. So if you want to move the money globally, you need to have the license first. And then because you are using stable coin, so you also need to protect your client's money from transfer fiat to stable coin. That's step two. And step three is if you are sending the money to BNB owners, right? So with stablecoin, the money goes to their wallet. So you also need to do anti-money laundering and then KYC for your suppliers. And then that's number three. And number four is if you move certain amount of money, let's say, I think it's over 3,000 US dollars, you also need to obey the travel rules. So all the regulations with the latest technology plus globalization applying all the license in different regions. You also need to wait for the regulation to be mature, right? So US is the first, and then comes the Japan, EU, Singapore, Hong Kong, and other regions. So you just need to invest heavily on the infra. Since we are in the industry, so we understand it's so difficult for like a smaller startup to invest in all those, money into the license regulation. So during the process, we decided to open up our license and then get everyone startup to using our infra. So I think this is the quickest way to grow the industry together.
That's really important, I think, what you said, because I think on the surface, people think that just tapping a credit card and making a payment is simple. But I think what
Yes.
you're describing is it's very complex, especially when you think about the volume that people are making payments, especially globally. I'm interested in your opinion, what's been the hardest wall to climb? What's been the hardest thing is it technology? Is it the regulation side? Is it the trust with consumers and small businesses? What's the biggest challenge?
Yeah, so I think right now it's very similar when the first generation of internet take off. So people using the browser, they need to dial in, apply the protocol, under the Windows system, things like that. It's actually pretty similar. For example, I think 99% of people, the average consumers, they don't know how to get a stable coin. For example, if they want to download MetaMask, and then how do they get the stable coin, right? It's so difficult. The process is so lengthy. So our company, we want to make it as easy for everyone just by getting your debit card or credit card. You just swipe it, and then the money goes from fiat to stablecoin, then send it to your friends globally. So I think this is actually the most difficult part. And right now, the only way for people to get stablecoin is to either through third party like MetaMask, and then you also need to suffer a very high fee from using credit card to unwrap. So the average you lose about 4 to 5% if you unwrap money. So people doesn't want to suffer the loss. We're trying to make it, like there's no friction for consumers to unwrap to money, and then help them to, make it as easy as possible, just like the, current, like your wallet app or your banking app to send the money.
Let me ask you this question, because you and I were both in Rio for Meridian.
Yes.
You're in Taipei now. I'm in Korea. Every time we go to pay for something, there is this sort of maze of things that's happening on the back end, so that my bank in the U.S. can complete a transaction to
Yes.
buy dinner or something like that. When you talk about MetaMask, you talk about stablecoins. I'm a little concerned that most consumers aren't going to care. They just want to know that they can buy dinner, right?
Yes.
So I think that there is something that it sounds like you guys are trying to solve, which is this idea that as long as the rails work, you've made this comparison to saying that you can be the Visa or MasterCard of stablecoins. No one, when they use Visa, thinks about how the money works. They just know they get a bill, they have to pay it at the end of the month, and they're good. So is part of this about simplifying it for the consumer?
Yeah, so think about it. So right now, if you want to have a Visa card, whether it's credit or debit, you need to go to the bank, right? and then you need to build your credit from zero to some credit. So it's actually very similar. Yeah, and I think right now, if you want to have a credit card, you need to have a bank account first. But in a lot of countries, regions, they don't have a bank locally. When we spend more and more time in the industry, we figured if there's a way for people to get a stable coin, we can actually become something similar to Visa or MasterCard. Because in this architecture, the wallet will be more like the role of banking that's playing right now. But imagine there's a more like a global wallet. There's no boundaries if you are in the blockchain world. But if you want to move the money legally, you just need to have all the license. So I think right now we are trying to be regulated wallet player that's helping everyone to get a stable coin as easy as possible.
Looking for a faster, cheaper way to move money worldwide? OwlTing, now listed on Nasdaq under the ticker symbol OWLS, is building the rails for stablecoin payments. With OwlPay, you can seamlessly convert fiat currency to stablecoins, send money as easily as a text message, and on or off ramp globally. Learn more about OwlTing at owlting.com. And just to follow up on that, most founders talk about being caring about compliance. You guys have gone really heavy on licenses, like you just mentioned, on partnerships. How much of that is just staying ahead of the competitors? How much of that is your overall strategy? You mentioned a lot of people are building on OwlTing as well.
Yeah, so to just give you a high-level idea, so if you want to apply for the U.S. license, you need to also have the insurance. So we call it surety bond. In different states, the money requirement is different. And then you also need to have people behind the license, for example, compliance officer, the legal team, operations. So it's actually a heavy investment, and just in the U.S., so you just need to think about that. You need to replicate the same organization in different countries. So it's a large investment for smaller companies to enter. So I think we are ahead of everyone in average about 3 years. Yeah, so that's typically how much time you require to get a license. And US, they have 50 states, so you need to spend some time to apply for the license. In Japan, you need to translate the application from English to Japanese back and forth, back and forth. So we spent over 2 years applying for the license already. So I think average, we are leading the industry for about 3 to 4 years.
When I think of the partnership side, Visa, MoneyGram, Circle, Coinbase, you have some pretty big names that you're partners with. Is that also about trying to sort of corner the opportunity and be aggressive in building those partnerships?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think the partnership with, I would say collaboration with MoneyGram will be helping people without bank to use cash to turn into stablecoin. And then the collaboration with Visa will be something like we are trying to help everyone with the debit card or credit card to use stablecoin. Yeah, so different cooperation has different purpose. We just want to make it complete for everyone that can, using the, simplest way to quickly adopt the technology.
And you mentioned before, or we talked about, being the Visa or MasterCard of stablecoins. When we think of a Visa, a MasterCard, an Amex, a PayPal, that, really they owned the last 20, 30 years of payments, Visa, yes. Amex, even longer. What's the legacy that you want sort of OwlTing to leave behind?
Yeah, so I think the concept for designing our product is totally different. For example, we are open to everyone. For example, if you are, whether you are Visa, Master, or Amex, we are open for you to build an infra on top of our platform. And let's say, we can help everyone with different type of cards to on-ramp money. Yeah, and then build on the technology, and then those big players, I think we have the audience numbers that can quickly help them to move the money. So I think later on, the traditional bank will also catch up, but they don't also have the technology as well. How does a bank, to implement so much different technology product using, built on Web3. So the purpose and then the way we design the product is we visualize everything they need in the future, and we provide the API for them, so can easily, for example, if they want the wallet, and then we open up the API for the banks, so they can quickly issue the wallet to their consumers, and they are moving the money with stablecoin. We provide the infra for them to switch from fiat to stablecoin. When the money moves between different countries, we provide the technology for AML, KYC, so they can scan the wallet or traditional bank account, easily. So everything is designed under one API, and then they can quickly use our infra and license to catch up the future trend in Web3.
And I would assume, to build this legacy company for the future, the Nasdaq listing is really the starting point almost, right? It took you this far to get here. Is that stake in the ground something where you're proud to say, now this is the next phase of the company?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think getting ready for the listing standard is extremely difficult. So for example, we need to correctly answer all the regulation related question to SEC. Also, Nasdaq also has very high standard for screening the company to go public. I think there will be the important milestone, but only the beginning, because I think back in June, Circle had a great example to show the world the importance of stablecoin. We want to help the market to understand stablecoin with money flow is the next phase of fintech. Yeah, so it's more than just Visa, Master, or the current banking system built on Swift. It's actually the new era is coming soon. And in the future, people can easily send money with your current messenger, Facebook, WhatsApp, everything they can build upon our API to send the money freely in different countries.
I guess my last question, Darren, is if I was to sort of, push you a little farther, are stablecoins the end state, or is that just the starting point for something bigger? Is it a stepping stone to think about a wider financial opportunity for OwlTing?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think stablecoin is just the beginning, and then all the traditional financial model will replicate again on the blockchain technology. For example, lending, right? Now we have company, going public with the lending, and then RWA, for example. So everything is actually repeated again on the blockchain technology, like DeFi, as well. So I think it's actually the very beginning of the new digital money, and using the term stable coin. And I think in the future, the money flow will be totally different, built upon stable coin.
Darren, thank you for spending so much time with us. I'm Sam Ewan. This is Darren Wang, CEO of OwlTing. Really exciting new company, just listed on Nasdaq. We're excited to be able to partner together on bringing your story to CoinDesk, and we'll see how things go.
Thank you, Sam.